All right, I am recording. All right, everyone should be able to see my desktop. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. All right, let me go ahead and get us kicked off. So welcome everybody to the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup. My name is Chris Price. I am the host of the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Red Fox Multifamily. So tonight we have a special guest speaker. His name is Bisi Ogunwale, and he is going to talk to us about building and protecting wealth using life insurance. Bisi is a certified financial educator, and I'll get into his bio briefly momentarily. But before I do that, let me give you a little bit of background about us. So the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup is open to all who are interested in growing generational wealth through passive real estate investing and increasing their financial intelligence. This meetup is for the busy professional and retirees across various industries. The individuals in the group make a good living and have discretionary income to invest in real estate for its proven wealth building power, but don't have the time, skill sets, or network to do it at speed and at scale. This meetup focuses on helping us all grow our wealth mindset by learning how to build and preserve wealth and while developing and maintaining an abundance mindset. This meetup will focus on multifamily real estate investing as well as other proven ways to build wealth through real estate and through passive investments. And then on the other side of this, we're sponsored by Red Fox Multifamily. And Red Fox Multifamily, we work with investors who are dissatisfied with the low returns from savings accounts and bonds, and investors who are concerned about the volatility of the stock market. Red Fox Multifamily puts discerning investors' capital to work for them by investing in exceptional multifamily properties in the best markets nationwide. Demand for multifamily rental units continues to grow and is driven by both the preference of certain demographics as well as unfavorable single-family home ownership options. We're based in White Plains, New York, and we partner with investors for whom the stability of real estate investments appeals, but the stress of property ownership does not. And we give investors these benefits of real estate investing through syndication. So thank you guys for that brief commercial break. Let's get into a little bit of the logistics and disclaimer for tonight. So I'm going to ask if you are not speaking to please mute your lines. To please hold your questions to the end unless the speaker invites you to ask them throughout the presentation. This presentation is being recorded, and you should note that this material does not constitute an offer or a solicitation to purchase any securities. And of course, this is information only and should not be construed as business, financial, or legal advice. And if you want to keep up with us or with me in particular, please reach out to me. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or you can send me an email at chris@redfoxmultifamily.com. That goes for anyone that is watching the recording as well. So for tonight, our agenda is going to be me introducing the speaker briefly, and then also handing it over to Bisi to provide a presentation on the topic for this evening. We'll have a brief Q&A for anyone who has any open questions, and if time permits, we'll have a little bit of time for some virtual networking. But without further, let me go ahead and introduce Bisi. So again, the topic tonight is building and protecting wealth using life insurance. And so Bisi is a certified financial educator. He's been helping hundreds of people across the US and Canada to build a strong financial foundation. He's more interested in empowering people with financial knowledge that helps them build financial independence. And so with that, let me stop presenting and let me introduce Bisi. And while I do this, and Bisi, while you pull up your screen to start sharing, I just want to tell you guys that I had the opportunity to meet Bisi maybe a couple of months ago now, we were introduced by one of my partners, but one of his friends who is a business partner of mine in real estate, and he knows that I've been invest in many different ways and do different things. And one of the things that she talked about was that he's really into life insurance and financial planning. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. This will be a great conversation. So we had an opportunity to connect and just learn more about each other. And when we spoke, we recognized the opportunity to add value, to bring value to both of our communities, his community, which I know he'll share about in a moment, as well as the wealth mindset and real estate investing community as well. And so I won't take up any more of the time. I will pass it over to Bisi so that he can walk you through the presentation and hopefully educate folks on the value and power of life insurance.
Well, thank you so much, Christopher, for that wonderful introduction. Do you hear me okay?
Yes, we got you loud and clear.
Great. Good evening, everybody. How's it going? I'm really very honored to speak with you guys this evening because this is something that I personally am very passionate about. I want to talk to a lot of people, as many as possible, about how they can build solid financial foundation for themselves. So without wasting too much of your time, I'm just going to share my screen with you, and then we could take this from there. Let me know when you see my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So today I just pretty much want to talk to you about how do you build wealth and then protect that same using, a cash value life insurance. Just like Christopher said a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to my friend BB. And we're talking about a couple of how we can do, real estate deals. And then we were thinking, okay, how do we do this? How do we do that? And then she mentioned to me, oh, I think you should speak to my friend Christopher. And so she set up a meet for us to have a conversation. I met with him, and we just kind of connected and was, oh, this is something that we have to talk to people about. Before I go into my presentation, just a little bit background, about myself. For me, the mission is just about financial education for everybody. I'm a financial professional and a retirement planning specialist. More importantly, about myself, I went to school in the United Kingdom. I graduated from finance in this business school called Cranfield School of Management. I have about 20 years of working experience in finance now across 4 different continents. For me, I have 3 major passions that I want to pursue. One of them is to be able to educate people financially, and that's one of the reasons why we're here tonight. More importantly, I believe that there's a need for us to begin to use finance as an agent of social change. And more importantly, look at how we can begin to build entrepreneurship inside of, this industry. So I'm helping a lot of people to come into the industry and build their own business. We have an agency right now. I'm one of the emerging leaders and world system builder, leading an agency of over 40 licensed people across all the states in the US and all the provinces and territories in Canada. Over the last 2 or 3 years, one way or the other, we've been mentioned, myself or my agency have been mentioned in one of these new news outlets there. But before I go into my presentation today, I want to quickly talk to you about what we're trying to do with World System Builder. For us, we want to be able to educate people about finances. We have a goal to educate and empower 30 million people by the year 2030 across US and also our brothers in the north in Canada. As of today, we've been able to reach 2,119,383 people as at last time that I checked earlier today. What are we talking to people about? Is about these different topics that we believe that people should know about. And we have this financial foundation education program that we run. How do people increase their cash flow? We talk to people about how to manage their debt. How do we build strong financial foundation How do people prepare with proper protection, building wealth, asset accumulation strategies, talking about retirement planning, and even wealth preservation. People have asked me, Bisi, how do you do these things? How do we be a part of this if we want to? We have sessions that we're using to run financial literacy campaign for people to be able to understand what they're supposed to be doing. As of right now, in the month of March, this is the kind of schedule that we're running. We have 6 different workshop programs that we run on a weekly basis. Mondays to Friday, nonstop, we run these sessions 3 times a week. 3 times a day, 5 times a week, 52 weeks in a year. We don't stop. And so what are we trying to achieve here is by helping people to build solid financial foundation for themselves by first and foremost thinking about putting proper protection in place, like thinking about risk management here. What happens if I get sick and I cannot earn income? Who's going to be able to take care of me? If I need a nurse to come and look after me, who's going to take care of that? What if I get, to die prematurely and I have families that I'm leaving behind? Who's going to take care of stuff for them? So we want to be able to protect people's income, protect people's, health, protect people's, family asset and all of that. We want to help people to understand how debt works so that people can begin to control themselves out of debt, get their liabilities off, and begin to get more debt free. Ultimately, we want to help people to understand how they're going to set aside money for emergency in the sense that if they have things that they didn't plan for, they will not fall back into the debt that they just got out of. They have reserves that they can use to take care of those things. But more importantly, where we want to get to is how we can help people to begin to save money and then invest money for the future. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking to you guys about this evening. Because without a very strong financial foundation, everything that we may have may not last, right? So this brings me into our conversation today. I want to talk about how we use life insurance to build wealth. But for us to be able to understand how that works, we need to understand how we build wealth in the first instance. So the first concept that I want to talk to us about today is the concept of compound interest, how money works. For people to understand how money works, we need to know what is called the rule of 72. I go around America and I ask people about rule of 72. So many people don't seem to understand what that is. Rule of 72 is a very simple mathematical expression that says that if you want to know how long it would take for your money to double, divide 72 into the rate of return or interest rate that you investment. So I'm going to show you 3 different scenarios of people who have different interest rate regime or rate of return on their investment. The first one has 4%. The second one has 8%.
I lose audio.
$1,000. 4 to 8 is twice. I would expect somebody who is thinking about, oh, if I have 8%, I will be double this guy. But this is quadruple. And the person
just keeps freezing.
Yes. Give me one moment. I'll let them know. Just give me one moment, everyone. I'm just sent him a message to let him know that his video is frozen. Thank you for your patience.
All right, I'm logging into this Zoom right now.
So as far as your situation is concerned,
No news.
So give me one moment, everyone. I am going to call him.
You guys back? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you now. You have to reshare your screen.
Okay, no worries. Oh, that was strange. Internet. Okay, give me a second. For some reason, it was frozen. I didn't know that. Thank you for calling me out.
We'll let you know when you pull it back up to share. Lose him again. Screen is frozen again.
Oh my God.
Oh no, you're there now. Maybe it's the video. You try stopping sharing video and then you can share your screen.
Okay. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. I'm just going to share my screen, stop the video, and then just move forward from there. Let me know if you see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. We got you.
Okay, great. So I was talking about rule of 72, how, the wealthy use this concept to be able to understand how they're going to expand their wealth, whereas they put their money in places where they can find good returns on their investment. But, average person on the street put their money in the bank, maybe in a checking account or in a savings account. Instead of earning interest, we get to pay the bank for giving us those kind of accounts, right? That's what, many of us used to do. I mean, for me, I would say the truth. That's what I used to do before I began to, learn more about some of these stuffs. But you find that the wealthy people put their money where they can find good return on their investment, and then they go and borrow other people's money to invest and then get stuff done for themselves. How can we begin to do this for ourselves? Is by understanding how this works and then begin to move. I want to show you a couple of things that I don't think so many people in America today understand. On your screen right now is 100 years, over 100 years of where federal taxes have been in America between the 1913 and year 2018. I got this downloaded, I think, in 2020 from the Tax Policy Center, and then we plotted the graph to look at where things are. Hey, Vanessa, if I told you there was a time in America where people were paying over 70% of their income in taxes, would you believe me? There was a time when people paid over 90% of their income in taxes. And for a prolonged period of time between the 1930s and up to the early 80s, people were paying over 70% of their income in taxes in the US. So given what has happened in the last 2.5 years or 3 years with COVID, what do you think is going to likely happen in the future with taxes, especially given where government's, debt situation is and all of that? So we need to start thinking about how taxes affect our wealth building in the future. So right now, I want to show you how people are saving for the future and doing things that they are currently doing in their lives, right? These are the three major buckets where people save money in the US today. I think this is frozen again.
No, we got you. We have not all assets are taxed equally.
Oh, okay. So right now, a lot of people are putting their money in 401k, pension plans from their, companies. Many people put their money in, traditional IRA or simple IRA or any of those kind of instruments that they're using to do the things that they do. A lot of people are buying stocks, mutual funds, real estate, and not so many people are thinking about Roth IRA, the mini bonds and then the life insurance components that they're supposed to be using to save into the future. Today, I want to show you the effect of taxes on these different asset classes how they work and how each and every one of them, sort of play.
Seems like it's frozen again.
Oh my God. So something is
Oh,
wrong.
we're good now. You're good. It's okay. You're good. You're back on now. Keep going.
I don't know what's going on with internet today. So this guy is in a place where he puts all his egg in one basket. If you put all your egg in one basket where all the income that can be taxable, can you see what the effect of taxes would be? He would need to pay state taxes and then pay federal taxes. Because of that, of the $300,000 that he was hoping he will get in the retirement, he's left with just about $213,000 in his pocket, paying close to 30% of that income that he's worked for all his life to Uncle Sam in taxes. One thing that I always say is this: Chris, you and I might not be related. Vanessa, you and I might not be related. But the truth is, we have one uncle in common, and that uncle is Uncle Sam. He's related to everybody that is in the US. So he can dip his hand into your pocket and take things out of, things that you work for. But what if this guy called Ari understand how taxes work and can then begin to diversify his asset classes into different places, putting $100,000 in the first bucket, the second bucket, and the third one equally? Because of that diversification, this guy is able to save some taxes, because in the first bucket, he pays taxes to federal and state, second one, state and federal, but the last bucket, no state, no federal. And because of that, he's able to keep extra $40,000 of his income in his pocket, lowering taxes to almost half what we would have paid normally. But a lot of people ask me, BC, why don't I just put all my money in a place where I don't pay taxes at all? I say to people, you can't run away from taxes, but you can always reduce the amount of taxes that you're going to have to pay. So let's look at another scenario. In this instance now, this guy is now way more of his asset into places where he pays the least of taxes. Here, there's $50,000 of taxes that needs to, income that taxes has to be paid on, pay state and federal, another $50,000 state and federal. In the third bracket, there's no state, there's no federal taxes. And because of that, he's been able to significantly reduce the amount of taxes that he's going to pay on that $300,000 income to a single digit. And that changes things significantly for this man, because he's able to keep extra $70,000 of his income in his pocket. This is the summary of all the three different, bucket. The first one, out of 300K, he goes away with just $213,000 or thereabout. Out of the 300K in the second scenario, he would be able to walk away with just about $253,000. But in the third bucket, where it diversified the income and weigh it more towards a tax advantage class, is able to significantly save his money away from taxes and hold on to what he's worked for. So the question to ask each and every one of us on this call this evening is, are you making the most of your own tax advantage bucket? So what are the things that are in that tax advantage bucket? The first one we talk about is we have something that is called Roth IRA. We have another thing that is called municipal bond, and then the last one is the life insurance asset. Today, I want to talk to you about the life insurance asset. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be focusing on, because we want to talk about how do you build wealth and protect that wealth using a cash value life insurance. When I talk to people about life insurance, the first thing that comes to people's mind is, oh, somebody's got to die before you can talk about life insurance. I get it. We are all going to die anyway. So let's just, face it and be prepared for it. But you have to understand that life insurance is a very, very good tax efficient vehicle that many of us may not know about. And that's the essence of the conversation that I want to have with us this evening. Consider adding another tax advantage vehicle to your financial portfolio right now. If you have a cash value life insurance that provides you with tax-free death benefit to your loved ones when the time comes, or that you can potentially use as a tax-free supplemental income for yourself at a later time in the future. How does this work? You set up a life insurance that is a permanent life insurance that has cash value inside it. The cash inside it has the potential to grow in a tax deferred environment where you don't have to pay any form of taxes as you earn income and then grow, capital gains inside it. And ultimately in the future, you can then leverage that, cash inside to be able to take potential income for yourself. Who is doing this? I don't know if you guys remember the message that Chris sent out to every one of us. He mentioned something about Disney, how Disney was using, cash value life insurance to be able to build something for themselves. Well, here's the good part. There's a book that was written by this gentleman called Jake Thompson. Jake Thompson wrote this book called Money, Wealth, Life Insurance, How the Wealthy Use Life Insurance as a Tax-Free Personal Bank to Supercharge Their Savings. In that book, I took an excerpt out and I want to just read out some of the things that I took out of the book to you. It says, cash value life insurance plays a massive role in financial institutions, corporations, and banks. More than you could ever imagine, these organizations buy life insurance by the billions, and they use it for many different reasons. Not only does it increase their financial stability and reduces their taxes, it is an ideal place to fund employees' pensions, healthcare costs, and other benefits. It is so common among banks and corporations that it has its own name. When a bank owns one, it is called BOLI. When a corporate owns one, it is called COLI. And in his book, Jake showed us some of the major banks in America today where this amount of life insurance balances that they hold is. For example, as at the time when this book was published, Bank of America has about $20 billion was what they had in life insurance assets at that time. Wells Fargo, about $18 billion. Morgan Chase, just slightly about $10 billion. And the US Bank, about $5 billion. This was like 7 or 8 years ago when this book was written. I had the privilege of looking at the bank's balance sheet as at the end of last fiscal year. I can tell you conveniently that Bank of America is now about $26 billion in their, life insurance asset. Wells Fargo is about $22 billion, and we have just around, $13 billion for JP Morgan Chase. I'm waiting for the next fiscal, year report, which is going to come out, by the end of March. So maybe by the end of April, we would have the audited accounts for major banks like this. I want to see it again. How far have these guys grown their balance sheet in terms of their asset that they're using for life insurance purposes? Why do they do that? It's mainly because when they put these monies into life insurance company, they are able to earn steady return without the risk of losing their money because of the guarantees that comes with it. Think about different corporations that you can even imagine. General Electric, Procter & Gamble, AT&T, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Starbucks, Office Depot, Verizon, Avon, Comcast, Walt Disney, Nike, CVS, and the rest of them. All of these organizations use life insurance asset to be able to take care of things for themselves. But this next slide is what I want you guys to pay a little bit of attention to. General Electric has this balance sheet that was published in 2017 for the annual report of 2016. This website here is the place that I took out, the information from. And I want you guys to look at what they've done on this screen properly. This is how they pay their corporate executives. Life insurance asset is where they put the bulk of the money that they are planning for the retirement of their corporate executives. Instead of them to put it in retirement savings plan, what they've done is to put it in an asset class where there is tax advantages for their corporate executives. Now, let's look at the part of the notes. This says retirement savings plan. GE's matching contribution to the named executives RSP accounts equaling 3.5% of the pay, up to the caps that is imposed by who? IRS. Now, let me tell you something here. IRS created accounts for us to be able to save money for our retirement, but those accounts are taxable in the future. However, there are some exemptions that have been given to some designated accounts, of which cash value life insurance is one of those. And I'm going to talk to you about the tax citation and the codes that makes this, more interesting for each and every one of us to start thinking about it. But what did they do differently, G? They put money in life insurance assets. And the note says taxable payment to cover premiums for universal life insurance policy that their, executives own. These include one, Executive Life, which provides universal life insurance policies for the named executives totaling $3 million in coverage at the time of enrollment and is increased 4% on an annual basis. The Leadership Life provides universal life insurance policy for the named executives with coverage of 2 times their annual pay, salary, plus recent bonus. What is going on here, people? Do you think this is the same way GE pays all the employees that are working for them? I dare say the answer is no. So is there something that these guys who are working at the ends of affair in GE, is there something that they know that makes them to pay themselves this way, and then every other person doesn't get paid that way? And that's why I want us to talk this afternoon. Index universal life insurance is what I want us to begin to talk about, mainly because that's what these guys are using to do the things that they're doing. So how does that work? You see, average person don't think about index strategy. People put their money in the bank because they believe that if they put the money in the bank, there's safety in the bank. But what we don't understand is we have a risk, which is inflation. The more you leave your money in the bank and it's not earning the good return for you, the more you lose value to that money. So let's look at just, arithmetics of how this works. Let's say for the next 3 years, you put $100 in the bank and you get 0.5% as the money that is returned for you. At the end of the third year, you end up with just about $101.51. However, a lot of people get angry and they're like, oh, why should the bank just rip me off like this? I gave them money and I'm not getting anything out of it. So people begin to go and invest in different places, capital market, buy stocks, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and all those kind of stuff. As much as possible, you will find great return, but there's also the risk that when the market tanks, just like we're currently seeing right now, we can be in trouble if we're not very careful. So let's look at an analogy. Let's say this person started just the same way, this other person. About a year ago, the market has lost about, in 2022, S&P 500 lost about 19.52% in its, index's worth. So let's say 20% is what was wiped off. Hopefully this year, if the market regains, let's say 10%, and then another 10% next year, it would take more than 2 years for this person to get back to where he started from, let alone now continue to build wealth for himself or herself. But if you're in an indexed universal life strategy, it helps you better to understand how this works. With index, you can find the safety that the bank gives you, because the most safest place to put money right now, the safest place to put money right now in America is to put your money in an insurance company. It's the safest, the most, reliable place to be able to put investment. And then you also find market returns. How did I know this? I remember I was an intern in 2008 when the bubble for that, mortgage crisis happened. I was in the UK at that time. I just finished my MBA and I was interning on London Stock Exchange. And when Lehman Brothers went down, there was different inquisition at the Congress Capitol here. And for the most part, I think about 27, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 28 different, banks executives were invited to speak and just to understand where the economy was going. And they kept asking them, where do you guys put tier one capital. 77% of those people said, oh, our tier one capital was with an insurance company. And recently, SVB just went down, and we can see how much of what they have in tier one capital that was kept in the places that were supposed to keep it. So let's assume that market, went the way it went last year. If you had money in an index universal life, you won't lose 20% of your money. If you took a cap strategy, you will still have gotten at least 0.75. Let's hope that the market does 10% return today and then another 10% next year. This person who chooses to use index will be in a better place compared to the other two guys who are in the market. Index Universal Life gives you a market-based return without the risk of you losing your money. And then it gives you the mindset that I have peace. Knowing what you know today, what does the future look like? So a lot of people ask me, how does this thing work? I just want you to quickly look at this. S&P 500 index account over the last 20 years. I look at 20 years back up to year 2003. What has been the performance of index, like S&P? If you choose an index universal life that is a cap strategy, you have a cap. The current cap as of today's market is 12%, right? But look at what the average has been for S&P 500 and look at somebody who is using a floor and a cap of 12%, what that person has been. Over the last 20 years, the average of S&P 500 has been 7.62%, but the average of an index universal life that does 12% cap and a floor of 0.75 has been about 8.05, which means that account still outperforms, S&P 500. So you need somebody who understands how these indices works to be able to help you to customize what works for you and what works for your family, what works for your future, so that you have peace of mind. I mean, as you can see here, when the market lost money in 2008, minus 38% of people's wealth was wiped off this index. Whoever had money at that time in index universal life didn't lose a penny. Instead, they got 0.75%. In 2015, the market crashed slightly about 0.75 minus, and the person still got a positive, amount. In 2018, 7% lost in that market, 0.75. And then ultimately, due to COVID, and that in 2022, we have about 20% loss in the market, and then it's 0.75. What does the future look like? Who has a crystal ball to be able to predict what the future is going to look like? There's tax advantages to this as well. So I want to show you the internal revenue code sections and the tax laws that are applicable to why a life insurance asset is a tax efficient instrument for you to use. So, I mean, if you want to check something out, go and check out tax code 101A. Check out 72E and 7702. 7702, these are the three major tax code that gives a life insurance the kind of advantage that it has today. The rich understands these codes, and that's why they take advantage of it. What does 101 talk about? It talks about TEFRA in 1984, right? We talk about, that's 1982, forgive me. TEFRA was in 1982, DEFRA was in 1984, and TAMRA, which is 7702, was in 1988. If you want to just check out these things and say, oh, how does this affect investment that is put in a life insurance? You will get to understand how taxes work a little bit better with life insurance asset here. And that begins to give you the reason why some people will say, oh, they don't pay so much taxes or they don't do this, mainly because they're using this instrument to be able to take care of things for themselves. So how does an index universal life insurance work? The reason why people invest money is mainly because, number one, we want to be able to find growth. Growth in the sense that I want to be able to beat inflation at all times. We have the highest inflation of all time in the last 30 to 40 years right now. Inflation rate in America today is about 6%. How do you begin to find rate of return that surpasses that so that you can begin to find, good amount of income that will be able to keep your purchasing power intact? So you can have capped and uncapped strategy. Over a period of time, slowly giving yourself time, you can build wealth with this portfolio. Just like I showed you in the previous slide, you are very sure that you have safety. Whatever happens in the market is none of your business. You don't participate in the bottom part of the market. You can only stay afloat. 0.75 if you have a cap. If you don't have any cap, is zero. You don't lose anything. But guess what? The beauty of this is the fact that it is not only your principal that is protected. All the accrued interest, the gains that you have gotten over time is also protected alongside. So I always say there's an every year reset in a universal life that is an index universal life account. Why? If you put $100,000 into it today, say it gains 7%, so it becomes $107,000. If market were to go down 20% tomorrow, your $107,000 is protected, and that is what you protect against, market losses. It is written in the contract. You have contractual guarantee that you will never lose money. We're looking for tax advantages. Why? Because we don't want to pay too much taxes. Don't get me wrong. I want to pay taxes. Taxes help us to do a lot of things in America today. But the advantage is I want to pay my own fair share of taxes, because the less of taxes that is unnecessary, the more I can be able to create more income and more jobs for other people if I can channel those income into other things that will generate income for people. Can I find tax deferred growth? Find tax free access, either through withdrawals or through wash loan by leveraging your life insurance. But ultimately, this is an insurance product. So it has to provide protection. And what are we protecting? The income that we bring into the household. God forbid I die prematurely. I want my wife and my two children to be well taken care of. So the life insurance portion of that takes care of that. God forbid that I get sick and I need to be taken care of. I need to be able to have something that can be able to take care of me and also take care of things that I'm bringing into the household. You can have tax-free living benefit for either critical illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, or even long-term care benefit. What we call this is what people in the insurance industry call accelerated death benefit. You don't have to die. If you get sick while you're still alive, your insurance, if you have the rider on it, can be able to take care of you until you finish the money, and then that is something that has brought you peace of mind. And then you can also have some protection from different type of lawsuits depending on the state, especially with creditors and predatory taxes. What do you use this for? The cash that you build into it can be used for emergency. You can also use it to be able to build college fund for those who have children that want to be able to send them to school in the future. You can be able to use it to plan retirement. You can use this asset class to be able to plan legacy that you want to leave behind. You can use it for business solution. And that's how I met Christopher. Many of you guys want to invest in real estate and you're thinking about liquidity. This is a way for you to be able to make your money to be liquid instead of you tying it down somewhere while you're still able to leverage, an asset. You can buy life insurance with a significant amount of money, leverage it, and then go and use it to buy another asset that is generating some level of return for you. A couple of years ago, I think about 2.5 years ago, I had this medical doctor who said to me, Bisi, I've heard about this insurance that you guys are talking about. I need you to design something for me. God forbid something happens to me. I need serious medical attention and all of that, and I cannot work. I think, $1 million of benefits in living benefit will be okay for me. So let's do, that. We looked at the numbers for this guy. Number one is the fact that when we designed that, we're sure that, okay, as at that time when we did that, the average return on S&P over the years is about 7.1%. So being conservative, we said the investment will grow at that average over the next, 25 years, which is going to take him to retirement. So this guy decides, I'm going to put a significant amount of money aside for the next 25 years till he gets to the age of 65. roughly about $795,000 in total. And he has assurance that if market were to go down, his money was not going to go down with the market, or is never going to go down with the market. He will still get 0.75. And more importantly, when we look at everything and began to say, okay, what are the advantages that you can get here? The money that is $795,000 will grow in a tax deferred environment to about $2 million by the end of that 25 years. If you put money in mutual funds or ETFs or even buy stocks, you can never realize this kind of growth, because as you earn the money on an annual basis, you have to pay taxes on the capital gains that you get. So this guy says to me, Bisi, okay, let's look at this. If I want to be able to draw income in retirement, say for the next 30 years after I retire, how much money do you think I can draw? I looked at the illustration and I wrote down, this is what will be available to you from age 66 to 95. Based on the growth that we have in that particular policy, you can have access to $150,000 every year, tax-free, from 66 to 95. And if you pass, anything that is left can then be passed on to whoever you name as your beneficiary. And if you don't pass, you want additional money, you will still have extra that you can be able to take out of it. In total, he will first withdraw his own $795,000 that he puts into the investment, tax-free. So meaning that he just basically have that thing for free because he's taking back his entire money. But now he can now do a wash loan withdrawal of another $3.72 million, taking his total to about 4.5 at the end of that period at age 95. And while he's alive, or 30 years, he would have spent that money to take care of himself for whatever it is that he wants to do it for. Nobody will ask you what you want to do with it. But guess what? There's protection. In the event that this guy passes away at 65, before he even starts off, I want to, do a retirement strategy with this. About $3 million, which is the $2 million that grew out of the 800K, and then the $1 million of death benefit will be paid to whoever he names as beneficiary. At 95, after spending almost $4.5 million, he will still be able to leave at least $1.25 million for the people that are, behind. But the ultimate part that I like most about this thing is, what if this gentleman gets sick and needs long-term care or chronic illness, or he has a need for critical illness or even a terminal illness? That $1 million of death benefit will now be converted into something that is now a living benefit that can be used to pay this guy on different intervals based on which of them that is claiming. If it's long-term care, 2% of that amount will be paid every month until the entire thing that is in that insurance is depleted, if the person is still alive. Today in America, this is what we see. There are so many chronic diseases across the country. These are the most common ones: heart condition, cancer, lung diseases, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and then chronic kidney disease. Statistics have shown us that 6 out of every 10 person would at least have one of these chronic disease. 4 out of every 10 adults will have 2 or more of this situation. The question would then be, if you're not properly protected, all the wealth that you have built over time, I've seen people through medical issues burn all the things that they've built their entire life just to keep themselves alive. I recently met somebody in Iowa, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and this gentleman said to me, I wish I knew you 7 years ago. I'm just starting life all over again at 49 because I was sick about 5 years ago and I burnt everything that I've worked for. All you need is just a piece of, what it is that you're building to be able to buy this protection into different places. So you can see how you build wealth using all the, advantages that it has. But how do you protect that wealth is by taking the riders that it also has with it that you can then use to be able to protect the asset that you have built over time. More importantly, a lot of people are getting to, survive and get better when they have medical condition. But the truth of the matter is they can't go back to the same type of job they used to do. They can't work as much as they used to work. So they're having financial challenges. And most times people get killed faster and easily because of the lack of finances after they've gotten out of, the hospital. Oh, I forgot to put something on this slide. I checked the reason why people declare bankruptcy the most in America. The number one reason why people declare bankruptcy the most in America is because of medical conditions. And so we need to start protecting things that we have. And as I wind down, I want to bring this thing together. Again, we need to build wealth with responsibilities. Today, many of us are still relatively young. We have families that we have to take care of. We have debts, maybe college debt, maybe car loan, maybe, bank loan, whatnot that you might have. The fact that we pass away does not mean that the debt is going to go away. Somebody is going to inherit it and somebody has to pay for it. Some of us have young children that are still dependent on us, feeding, clothing, shelter, and providing for their needs generally. They need to go to college, and university tuition is not cheap. Maybe we have mortgages that we're currently paying today. If something were to happen to us at this time, like premature death, the family will need income that we used to bring into the household to be replaced for them to at least be able to take themselves into the future before they stabilize without that income. So what if I die too soon? I want to have income for my family. As our responsibility goes down over the years, so should our wealth continue to build so that we can begin to build wealth for ourselves into the future. And that's what we're going to leverage to be able to take advantage of in retirement. What if I live too long? I want to have enough money for my own future. If you build money in an asset like an IUL, for example, when you come to the phase of distribution, you don't pay any form of taxes. So you can live on the interest that is in that asset, and you can still keep the entire benefit, which is the debt benefit that has blossomed over the years and pass on to your heirs. At this stage of our lives, debt is fully paid off, hopefully. Our children are fully grown and they are now independent on their own. There is no education to worry about, and hopefully, balances on the mortgage have been fully paid out. If you can have some money that you built up into an IUL, you can begin to live up the interest portion that it brings to you on an annual basis for the rest of your life. But the question is this: what if I get sick? What if I become disabled? I cannot earn income anymore. Depending on whatever the condition is, you can use this life insurance as a replacement for what it is that you want to do. So, Index Universal Life is like a Swiss Army knife in the sense that a lot of people think about insurance, they see death benefit. But more importantly, I'm seeing a lot of parents right now that are using Index Universal Life to plan their children's life, not only for college, but their entire life. The first property that I bought in this part of the world, I bought it from a very young, lady. And she told me it was my parent when I was a couple of months old that put something like an IUL in place for me. And it was out of that we borrowed money to be able to put down as down payment for this property, in 2016. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot more to this product that a lot of people don't understand. This is one instrument that we can use to plan for emergency. Christopher is in the business of real estate today. We can have the opportunity to take money out of that to be able to fund, opportunities when they come to us, or be able to take care of unforeseen things that we didn't prepare for. We can begin to think about how do we talk about retirement planning for the future, just like I've just shown you with the medical doctor that I did something for. You can use this instrument to reduce the amount of taxes that you're going to pay in the future, just like I've shown you with Henri and how, his tax situation would be. What about real estate management? You want to be in a place where you don't want, a lot of people say, I don't want to be in debt, and they keep paying more into their real estate. And when they have issues, they don't have liquidity. What if you can put an asset like this in place and then grow cash there and then use the money from it to be able to manage whatever real estate transactions that you want to do? Estate planning, every amount of money, all of it, the totality of it that you have in life insurance is 100% tax free, and it does not go through a state process. You have enough money to be able to discharge yourself or discharge your estate of the obligation that will come when the time comes. You want to maximize your pension. So many of you guys will get pension from your corporate, places. We can use this instrument to maximize the things that we need to do. We can use the opportunity to be able to do other things like lump sum transfer and stuff like that. But more importantly, this is a dream solution for so many people. All right. Think about this article that I read in, Think Advisor a couple of years back. This coach, his name is Jim Harbaugh. It says cash value life insurance makes Harbaugh college football coach the top paid coach. This guy had an arrangement with, his University of Michigan, and that was, something incredible. I need you to find this article and just read about it. Again, Index Universal Life is what this guy used to engineer split dollar loan transaction for him to be able to build something for himself. And finally, as I close, I want us to build legacy wealth. Build something that is going to last more than you into generations into the future. But how do we do that? Is by beginning to understand how wealth building works. There are two major ways you can do this. A lot of people want to invest into the future by just putting cash into a place where they can grow it over time. But the challenge that they have is the fact that they don't think about every other thing that comes around that. Other people, like my very good friend here, Christopher, is thinking about real estate to be able to create wealth. Some people are setting up businesses to be able to create wealth for themselves. What each and every one of us that are doing real estate business, plus myself too, what we're trying to do is to be able to take equity out of this over time. What are the limitations that this two strategy has? Somebody who is investing cash, we need to think about taxes that has to be paid from the capital gain taxes that will come in the future. Someone that is in the real estate space or a business venture needs to think about the debts that they have brought together to be able to acquire those properties. In the event that something happens, what is going to become of the empire that you're trying to build if you have not protected, that empire? So how can I help people in these instances? For those who are investing into the future, can we find tax advantage investment that can help them to grow their investment in such a way that they don't have to, lose most of the what they gain to IRS? Or for the person who is an equity investment in a real estate or a business venture, how can we find proper risk management, like proper protection to help people? When we talk about proper protection, what comes to many people's mind is, oh, if you're talking about insurance, I have to die first before that is, like I've explained here today. You need to begin to think about the living benefits and the health protection that comes with it. For example, critical illness protection, the opportunity for you to use the cash value that is inside it for your retirement supplemental income, opportunity to have tax-free living benefit like, long-term care. But more importantly, how do you protect the wealth that you have built over time is by understanding that life insurance can be something that can be, put in a place where you do serious wealth transfer and estate planning for yourself, and then put the necessary documents together as well to be able to do things for yourself. It's part of the literatures that I've read to be able to help me to put so many of these things together. I always like to share information with people. If you want to grab something to read, I always prescribe reading The Retirement Miracle to a whole lot of people. I want people to find their hands on a book that is called The Laser Fund as well. If you can read that, how to diversify and create foundation for a tax-free, retirement. And on that note, I want to say thank you, Christopher, for giving me the opportunity to be able to share with this community, this evening. I hope that it's been a good use of your time today. And I hope that, you took something away from here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Bisi. That was incredible. You provided a wealth of information. And I have to say, one of the things that's so important about this meetup and why I'm so grateful to have this platform is to be able to plant those little seeds of information into people's heads, to maybe add a thought that they might not have had, and be triggered about something that they might not have considered before. And I think that's something that's really important. And then, beyond that, I think the importance of being able to just simply, as the name of this meetup is called, increase their wealth mindset and build on their financial intelligence is something so important, so key. And I think you have certainly given us all some great insights and some sense of urgency to really take some action. So really thank you very much for taking us through that. I want to open it up to anyone on the line who would like to take themselves off of mute and ask you questions for a few moments here, or if you prefer to type your question into the chat, I'll read it out for the group. I'll certainly go ahead and do that, and then after the brief Q&A, I'll wrap some things up. So please, if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. I do have a couple in the case that no one asked right away. Well, let me take advantage of that. So one of the things you mentioned, BC, was a wash loan. I think I understand. I know of wash loans. I believe a wash loan is also known as a personal loan from, or a personal loan from the insurance policy. But I wanted to make sure that that was accurate. Could you clarify?
You hear me okay?
Yes, I got you now.
Oh, great. Yes. I mean, wash loan is just pretty much you already have money built into your cash value life insurance. It is your money, but you don't want to break your investment to now go and use it for whatever it is that you want to use it for. So the insurance company will advance you money and then use your own money as the backing for the money that they gave to you. In essence, you're not paying any form of interest on it, but they're just helping you to create it in such a way that you don't have to pay taxes on it because it's a loan. And that's the reason why it's called a wash loan. And the beauty of this wash loan is the fact that if you like, you pay it back. If you like, don't pay it back. As long as you have the asset, and then if you pass away, whatever is left of the interest that is accrued on whatever loan that you have, if there's any, and the money that you've taken away will be deducted from the death benefit, and whatever is left gets paid off to whoever it is that you name as your beneficiary.
Great. Thank you very much for that clarification. There's a question that came into the chat that I think is a good one. And the question is there any downside to getting a life insurance policy? I mean, you clearly articulated the benefits of this, but I think a lot of folks are wary and may be like, okay, well, that sounds all great and it's rosy, but are there any risks to this? And are there downsides? And if so, what are they?
I mean, there's nothing that has the good side that doesn't have the bad side. I think the biggest downside to life insurance is that people don't understand what life insurance is. That's the first thing. Lack of financial education of how the product itself works. There's always a very big misconception or misinformation or lack of it thereof that people think that premium and cost of insurance are the same thing. Every insurance is one that has its cost increasing every year. Depending on the type of insurance that you have, the cost of insurance is dependent on how old the person gets regularly into the future. The performance of that index or the cash value in a VUL or a cash value in in an whole life or a universal life itself will determine the performance of that particular product or instrument that you have in your hand. So to answer you correctly, the only downside is not one, properly funding the insurance can cost you a lot of trouble. A lot of people want to get cash value life insurance, but they are not patient to have it for a longer period of time. So they want to get things out of it quickly. If you don't allow the things to grow in the way it should grow before you start to access the money inside it, that can also be a challenge. But I mean, in my experience, working here as a life insurance specialist and a retirement planning specialist for the last 7 years or thereabout in this part of the world, I have had the privilege of working with so many people that we've customized some things for them and they've just gone on to enjoy their lives. So yes,
Great.
the greatest downside is lack of, information or knowledge about the products that you're getting yourself into.
I would agree with that, and at the same time, it makes me think about what one would have to think about. What is the cost of not having insurance? Yeah, for the death benefit alone, and being able to protect yourself and your family, I think that is reason enough alone. But you, of course, painted a nice picture and shared many different ways around the reasons why. And one of the things that actually came to mind for me in terms of life insurance or IULs in particular as an investment vehicle. And the point that really resonated with me is the tool that many folks use as in terms of saving for their children's education. And this was a really big revelation for us a few years ago, when in America what was commonly taught or educated and of course heavily influenced by large financial institutions is for people to put their money in a 529 account, as if that's the
Mm,
only way in which you can save for your children's education. But as you pointed out, there's a very common strategy that wealthy people use that is called the $1 million baby strategy. And BC highlighted this, and I don't want this to be missed on by people because people can utilize their these IULs, these life insurance policies, as a vehicle to save for their children's future, and that could be their education. It may be they want to acquire a home or put a down payment as a home, as you mentioned before. Maybe they want to be entrepreneurs, and there's that seed money there that is utilized for that. Compounding interest, as you mentioned, and also provides they have the cash value and the death benefit that goes along with it, and the cost of insurance for children oftentimes is significantly less at a younger age when you can acquire these policies and be
absolutely.
able to max fund them. So I think that's such a great tool, and again was something that I did not until I really got educated, was not really thinking about those things. It just very much brought down the line of just the traditional ways of thinking and doing things as people have served us information. But what you shared was really valuable. Do you have any other additional insights that you want to provide on that one?
I mean, so I think one of the things that many people in America don't know today is the fact that if you use 529 plans to plan for your children college tuition, when kids want to get into college or university and they're looking for maybe academic or athletic scholarship to be able to get into school, there's a form that needs to be filled that's called FAMSA. And that form, you have to understand that IRS has a report of all the earnings of the parents and the things that they've been doing. For the most part, people who have 529 plans already in place for their children, those kids don't get um, the scholarship most times because they already have provided funds for them by their parents. So the schools want to be able to give other children the chance to, be able to use that. So I always say this: if you use IUL to plan, this is not reported to IRS. It does not have this downside of volatility that the market, has with 529. It does not have restrictions like 529 has for what you can use it for. So you have flexibility, and then, it's a very versatile way of building stuff. Again, kids have time compared to us. So compound interest over a long period of time, make the money that they're putting into it to blossom for a very long time. Many people will find that kids who have IUL from a very young age in life, not only do they find to be able to pay their college education from it, but they still have enough money to be able to lead their life into the future. Maybe they want to take honeymoon or something like that. They want to set up a new business. They're looking for seed money. They want to buy a property. They're looking for down payment. That could be the kind of things that they can leverage on. And guess what? I have also find parents who pretty much just buy IUL on the life of their children, mainly because the cost of insurance is lower for kids, and they use that to be able to plan their own retirement. What do I mean by this? I've seen somebody who is 30 something, but IUL for himself and then bought on the life of his children, knowing that, okay, if I can put additional money into this children's home, I can build a lot of wealth faster because there's time and the cost of insurance is lower. And then that person can have extra supplementary retirement income that he or she can leverage on. And maybe in the future can then just assign the policy to the child and say, you know what, I did this for you while we were young. You might as well just continue doing it. So there's so many things that you can do with life insurance. And finally, this is what I want to say. If you look at this field of medicine, you have medical doctors with different specializations. Somebody could be a dentist, another person could be an ophthalmologist, a surgeon, a cardiologist, a pediatrician, and whatnot. In this industry of financial services, especially when we come to planning for retirement and using insurance as one of those instruments and building wealth, that is my own area of specialization. It is not everybody that is an insurance licensed person that can help you to customize this properly. Think about this. When people buy cash value life insurance, they don't fund it properly. It's just like you buying a multi-unit property and you decide to just rent out just one floor out of the multi-unit, property that you bought. Regardless of how many floors you rent out, you're going to pay your cost on the entire building. It's just buying life insurance without you maximally funding it pretty much just basically put you in a place where you are not taking advantage of what it could do for you. If you rent out the entire of the property that you have, you will find that you get more cash flow out of it. If you can fund your life insurance cash value properly, you get, even better result from it. Not only for you, you can use it to transfer wealth into the future. I give you an example. A man decides to buy life insurance for himself, buy life insurance on the life of his children. When the children begins to have kids, he went ahead and bought life insurance on the life of his grandchildren. So I asked this guy, Dave, why are you doing this? He said, oh, it's very simple. My life insurance death benefit will pay to my kids. My children's life insurance death benefit would pay to my grandchildren. The one of my grandchildren will pay to my great-grandchildren. Whether I know them or I don't know them, I have already planted seed into the future for them. And I would inform my children to do the same thing on their own grandchildren when they come. And that's how we will pass wealth from one generation to the other into the future so that everybody has whatever it is that they want to do. This is what Sam Martin family does with Walmart till tomorrow.
Excellent. I think that's a great transition into the last segment of the show here, and I appreciate everyone taking a few extra moments here for this final round. And so what I have on the screen here, and BC will close us out in just a few moments after the questions to provide us some information. But just one of the things that I ask all of the folks who come on as guest speakers onto the meetup, I have a few questions for them that I want just to allow our guests and our audience to be able to get a chance to know you a little bit better. So the first question, BC, that I ask you is, what is one of the best trips that you've taken, and why was it the best trip?
So, I've traveled to 42 countries right now, but I'm just trying to think in my head which one is the best one for me. I think, I've been to Spain twice, but the one that I went last year was the best for me, mainly because every time I go to Spain, is either I go between Barcelona and Madrid. I had the chance to go to Sevilla this last one. I'm somebody that loves soccer a lot. So Europa Cup was playing final in Sevilla May last year. And, to just be able to stay in the same hotel with all the soccer players and then move from there in the same motorcade with them to the airport was just, to the stadium was just phenomenal for me. So I think that was the best trip I've taken in a while. Maybe when I come back from Thailand next month, I can revisit that. But as of right now, that's the best.
That's incredible. We got to definitely talk some more about some soccer or football, because I'm a fan myself, and we might have to. I won't share my allegiance to make sure that we stay friends. So
okay,
I'll wait until after the call. So what are you working on these days? Anything exciting? You mentioned you're going to Thailand and other places. You travel quite a bit, but anything special that you're working on? New products, new services?
Just like I was saying to you just before we started, I've been traveling a lot recently. I've been on the road and in the air for the most part of this month. I'm trying to expand financial knowledge across not only the US, but Canada. I'm speaking to you right now from Canada. I'm in Ontario right now. I jump on the plane first in the morning tomorrow to go to Alberta and stay there for 2 days, just pretty much training people, getting people in the space where they understand what they need to be doing for themselves financially. Because the biggest problem that we have in North America today is lack of financial education. And that's why so many people are living in one of the wealthiest countries in the world and they're still struggling with money. So I'm going around right now. That's what I'm working on right now, to just pretty much be able to give financial education to people.
Excellent. And then, a big deal for me as I got into investing and real estate investing in particular, and increasing this whole concept of my mindset of wealth mindset and those types of things is, I started learning more and hearing more about financial freedom, and that was really intriguing when I started to hear that and learn about what financial freedom meant to me. But I always like to ask the guest on the show here, but what does financial freedom mean to you? So what would you share about that?
For me, financial freedom is freedom of time and freedom of money. I want to be able to take off to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, without thinking about how's this going to work. I want to be able to buy whatever I want without thinking about what is the price tag on it. So that for me is freedom.
Excellent. Excellent. And I think that there's that time freedom is probably the number one response that I get from everyone that's here. The idea of financial freedom, being able to buy you time, I think is the number one thing that resonates with me and that I've heard and most people connect on. So thank you for sharing that. And the last question that we have is about the namesake of this show. We call it Wealth Mindset, and again, I have a lot of thoughts from my own perspective about what wealth mindset means to me. But what does having a wealth mindset mean to you?
When I speak with a lot of people, so many people don't believe that it could be done because they don't feel like they have what it takes to be able to get what they want. So I always say this. I like to use this quote a lot. Lions don't hang out with hyenas. Lions always hang out with lions. And for the only reason why lions have to build the mindset of lions. For me, wealth is association. Wealth is about environment. Wealth is about knowledge. You cannot be wealthy on your own. So you got to have the mindset of, I have to move away from whatever it is that I'm doing right now that has not gotten me to the place where I want to get to. I need to be able to find those people who know what it is that I want, who have been through it, and I go to them to mentor me, share their knowledge, learn from them, drink from their cup, and begin to understand what it is that they know that can help me. Because in this life, when it comes to wealth building, what we have to understand is proximity to excellence. For many people who have built wealth, many of them built it just because they changed their mindset. They are thinking about so many things that they were doing before, and they begin to do things different ways. So we have to do many things differently and do, many things in different times. For me, it's just changing your mindset from where you currently are to move in close proximity to the people that can, help you to be able to do the things that you want to do, and then begin to build wealth. Nobody is going to be able to build wealth in this world until you first build the financial foundation. And that foundation comes with you have to properly protect yourself first. You have to have a way of getting out of debt as quick as possible. There are some debts that are good, but those toxic debts, you have to get out of them and then begin to have some, cash reserve that you can use for emergency or take advantage of opportunities when they come. But ultimately put yourself in a place where now you have the opportunity to begin to pay yourself first and then save for the future and invest yourself into, serious wealth. That's the only way it can work.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to flash your contact information on the screen for everybody so that they can have it. Again, this is being recorded. This will be circulated out to everyone on the membership list. and on the newsletter list. But why don't you talk us through, as we wrap up here, what's the best way for people if they want to follow what you're doing, see your travels, see learn what you're posting out there. How can they
Yeah.
stay in contact? What's the best way?
If you want to reach out to me, you can send me an email. But if you want to be able to follow me on every social media, it's just at Bisi Ogunwale. You would find me there. Instagram, Twitter. I'm not so active on Twitter anymore. Anyway, Facebook, LinkedIn. You will find me on all those different platforms. But more importantly, the best place to reach me is just to shoot me an email, and then we can take it from there. I am very, very confident that a lot of people can change their life by just changing the way they think and just do things a little bit different. It just takes us 30 days to create new habit and 90 days to form that habit, and then it's a part of us for forever. We have to think about building wealth as something that we think about as eating, drinking, and sleeping every day.
Excellent. Well, BC, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. Thank you all for joining us and for staying a little later than normal. I appreciate it. I know that everyone, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but we recovered nicely and we're able to get everything wrapped up and a clear presentation. So thank you very much, BC. Thank you everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to stop the recording.
All right, guys. Enjoy